Hey guys and girls, Board now back with you. On this video I will be talking about the 5th episode of Yellowjackets Season 1. The episode is called Blood Hive. Full spoilers from the start of this review, and it's a pretty packed episode. Quite a lot going on in this one with the various characters, and another enjoyable episode for the most part. The mystery of the show really starting to come on quite a lot. I'll start with the Misty and Natalie stuff because there's a lot of fun stuff with them in this episode. Mostly in the present, although there are some good stuff individually in the past with the two characters. And we start getting a forward picture of both. First of all, more Misty's manipulation and what she could be up to, but also some of Natalie's flaws as a character and the way she uses Kevin in the episode, for example. So when it comes to the mystery of the show in the present, Natalie gets the toxicity results back from Kevin, who reveals that Travis was not on anything at the time of his death, and that's all he can give her. And that's when Natalie, not in so many words, but pretty much casts him aside. We find out that really she was using him in the previous episode, just using him to get the information, knowing that then he had feelings for her. So does pretty coldly toss him aside in this one when he asks if she would like to meet up again. And that's when she contacts Misty, and I love the contact on the phone. It's just ignore her or something to that effect. And we see her do the same with Misty. Now, it's a bit more acceptable with Misty because of how conniving she is, as Shona calls her later in the episode, amongst other things. But it still shows you, it really gets into the dynamics of their relationship, where it is a really love-hate relationship, but once again they have to trust each other or they have to use each other. So it's this fun roller coaster of a dynamic between these two characters, because then both of them don't really like each other, but both of them have to trust each other up to a point, and also they're both using each other at various times. There's especially with Natalie, there's times where she wants nothing to do with Misty, and she's happy to say, just fuck off, basically. I've had it up to here with you. But as she becomes more invested in the stuff with Travis and finding out what happens, and then the blackmail stuff, she finds out that then she maybe needs Misty's resources a bit more, because Misty reveals that she has a contact who can hack emails. And this leads to one of the most entertaining scenes, but also off-the-wall scenes of the episode, because they meet Misty's contact in a bar, and he immediately starts to try to blackmail them. And that's when Natalie just goes full on rogue with him, because she gets her lighter out and grabs him and threatens to set his dick on fire. And she has that wonderful line, which is, if the question is lighting your dick on fire worth me getting arrested and me going to jail, is it worth me getting my hands on that file? Well, just fucking try me. Here's the line. And it's a great scene because she's so scary in it, then he doesn't want to take that chance. So he hands over the information or the data. And we later on see them watching the stuff, looking into the file, and they find out that there was a ritual that was performed at the time of Travis's death, which definitely points even more so to not being a suicide, or it being very unlikely to be a suicide, that gets even more suspicions. So some great stuff with Misty and Natalie in the present in this episode, and I'll return to that stuff at the end when I talk about Thaisa and Shona. But like in the 90s, in the past, we get some really awkward stuff with Misty where she's trying too hard to really please Ben, and once again her crush is coming through on him, trying little things to like get her own way. And there's a fine line between how much of the stuff is naivety, just really being extreme, because it seems like she's poisoning him as a way to like keep him under control so she can keep looking after him. And he doesn't actually kill him. Awkward stuff very well, but it's also a good moment, the scene where Ben tries to let her down lightly, where he does that classic thing of sweet little white lie as a way to like not hurt her feelings, but also as a strategy to keep her at arm's length, because he pretends that he has feelings for her, like as a way to tell her then, because I'm your coach, I can't go any further with them, and it would look bad with the other girls, and stuff like that. So he's very clever about it, and a little bit underhanded, but you can definitely see how some people in the real world, like some adults, would try this as a strategy to like keep a teenage crush at bay and let them down lightly. And certainly there are worse ways to go about it. It's authentic to life, like something which an adult would do in those circumstances. So I like that stuff. And Natalie continues to get close to Travis, and they finally have their first kiss in this episode. And speaking of relationships, we also see a relationship formed between Thaisa and Vanessa, or Van as she's known, been bubbling along under the surface since, well, a couple of episodes ago when they went to the lake, and they started to notice each other then. So they get together properly in this episode, and there's some good stuff with them. Pretty meaty stuff with Shona and Jackie. Like subtly tells Jackie then she needs to start chipping in, like the others have said, you're not helping out enough. And this is part of what I was talking about in the last review, where Jackie suddenly out in the wilderness isn't as confident or effective as she was back home. And it's like the reverse with Shona, like she has really come into her element. And that reminds me a bit of Lost, where there's comparisons with the two shows, which actually don't hold up that much in general. Like, this is definitely its own show compared with Lost, but like, it's just one of those things that happens a lot in Lost, where you see certain characters who were maybe like outcasts and nobodies in society, like tossed aside, and their use, they find their value on that island. And the same happens here with Shona in many ways, and it's another nice scene because Jackie is impressed with how far her friend has come, and they do have a nice moment. Shona definitely tells her in quite a nice, like in quite a gentle way. She's not like a bitch about it. Start of a really good bond between Shona and Thaisa, which I really like their stuff, where Thaisa is the one who is the first one to find out that Shona is pregnant and that she slept with Jeff. And it's a really nice scene after we get the seance, which I'll talk about in a moment. But Thaisa, who has been very like skeptical about this idea of anything supernatural going on, and like has certainly put a brave face on it, and because of some of the stuff in her past, it probably hints that she is just trying to shut the stuff out than she really does believe in this stuff. Still playing up the Scully angle in this episode. Go up to the attic to like spend the night, like with Shona after what has happened, and they have a nice scene. They have good chemistry, and it's really good. Then Thaisa knows what's going on with Shona, realizes that then she is pregnant, but is just there and listens to her, and they have quite a nice sort of intimate style night where they're just laying there talking with each other. Seance in the episode, because at one point something happens that then could be described as supernatural, and Lottie especially believes this could be the case, and Thaisa particularly is against this seance, with which Thaisa reluctantly goes along with, and once again it does a good transition where at first they appear to be quite light-hearted and joking, and when they're asking certain things, and you just get this moment where Javi, I think it's Javi actually, us, are we gonna die? Might start to flicker, and it's Lottie who gets taken over, and she starts having a freak out and randomly starts talking in French. So that's something to look out for, maybe in season 2, where the French comes from, where she freaks out and eventually recovers. But it's a very good tense horror style scene. So some good stuff in the past in this episode, and there is a horror link to this episode because in the present it's set over Halloween, and I always enjoy Halloween style episodes in TV shows for the most part, because I think it just adds a little bit of flavour to what's happening. And this is the one with the Doria line where Shona mentions about dressing up as Doria, and her teenage daughter Kelly is just rolling her eyes, who the fuck is Doria? And people my age definitely with Shona on that. But there's some fun stuff with Halloween, because also Misty, which I didn't mention, but she plays a very Misty joke on these trick-or-treaters at the old people's home, because she's got a patient there, and and at one point they piss her off, so she plays this trick on them where she pretends then the patient flatlines, and she just screams she presses a button, and they all freak out, and yeah, that's Misty down to a T. Shona and Adam, who go to the Halloween party. Callie is at the same party, and she has chosen to dress up in her mother's costume. Callie stuff in this episode, because when Callie tries to blackmail her the next morning, Shona's reaction is so great, the way she puts her in her place and just points out how miserable her life could be if her parents get a divorce, so if she reveals to Jeff what she saw the previous night. And Callie has some interesting thoughts in this episode that definitely get Shona thinking, because she points out it's all a bit of a coincidence, and he could have just looked you up on the internet. But Shona in the scene with Callie where she points out that blackmailing her probably isn't in her best interest, just the way she twists that and turns it around on her, it is a great fist punch moment. And I'm gonna say probably for Shona as an adult in the show, this is her best episode up to now. Lines in it, because of course she has the line later on about Misty, a conniving poodle head fucking freak, which is so great. And of course Misty watching on, because she's filming them stuff with Thaisa and Sammy. Sammy's behaviour is getting to the extreme, or so it seems, and this is the one where the word spill is painted on their door in blood, which they initially think is Sammy acting out once again when they come back from trick-or-treating. Thaisa appears as though she's going to pull out of the race. Like, she agrees with Simone because things are just getting so crazy, then it maybe is the best for the family. But then she does that U-turn at the last minute when she's talking to the press, discover that Misty has been like working them, Jonah, like Teresa and Natalie, about what's been going on, what they've discovered about Travis. Shona tells them that Misty has already told me, and that's when she has the line about conniving poodlehead fucking freak. Another gem of a Shona line in this episode is when Jeff asks her about book club, and she has the line about, well, we were reading the girl with the tattoo in the window. A fun episode, nice little hook. You have to question with Misty, with her playing them off against each other in the present, like, just what is it? Just Misty being Misty? Is it just Misty wanting control and wanting to stay in their lives, which is consistent with the character, or is it has an agenda? There's a bigger agenda. Yellowjackets episode 5 of season 1, so halfway through. I am going to catch up before season 2 starts, so let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe as always, and I'll see you guys again soon. Goodbye.